Welcome back. As an office manager or a doctor, one of the things we want to do is we want to monitor how things are happening in our practices. So Rohit is here from Practice by Numbers, and I am here to learn about Practice by Numbers and how it can help us monitor one segment of our practice, which is our phones. What is going on with the phones? How many calls are we having in? How many calls are we having out? How is the staff doing with the phones? So in another video, if you haven't watched it, we started breaking down this PhoneIQ app, the Windows app that goes on the desktop, not the phone app, and what these numbers all mean. And what Rohit had talked about in a previous video is how we can then go to the website and start to analyze the numbers day to day, week to week, month to month, year to year. So Rohit, do you want to kind of let us know what the difference is between this app and then show us on the website what we can learn from our phones with this technology?
Yeah, absolutely, Laura. So the PhoneIQ, the Windows app here that we had a previous video, a couple of videos on as well, this is about day-to-day. This is about operational. This is about how things are going now, today, or how many missed calls or interacting with patients. But as an office manager or as a doctor or as a multi-practice owner, you want to see a global view.
Right.
And for that, you have to go into the website. So it gives you analytics. It gives you global views of what's happening in the practice in terms of the phones. Yeah?
Okay, so one of the things to make note of, just on a side note, for if you're not using the PhoneIQ at this point, all you're really tracking with Practice by Numbers is the outgoing calls that your staff is putting in notes about. When you have PhoneIQ, you now are tracking the in and out. You're tracking everything that's happening with the phone. So your staff needs to use this app as the phones ring and things happen with the patients, and then it will feed back to the website for you then to do analysis on the bigger picture, like Rohit was mentioning.
Right. And another thing with the PhoneIQ is that you may not even use the app and you'd still have all of the information available to you as long as the PhoneIQ is installed.
Right, okay.
So I'll go to the website for the same practice here. And we're looking at the month of May. So everybody's familiar with the Practice IQ and the Revenue IQ portion. We've done tons of video. PhoneIQ is just an add-on to that. Okay, so anybody who has landlines or phone voice over IP can add PhoneIQ to their service. Once you do add it, we can start tracking their phone. So this is more of a global view, looking at a month view or a 6-month view or a year view to see what's going on. So looking at the month of May, we're seeing what is the phone volume coming in. So this is looking at the past 30 days here, and the ones in dark green are the outgoing, the incoming, and the missed. So what this is telling you is how and when the call volume is coming in. But what's important is the numbers at the bottom over here. Why is this important? It's telling me that this office missed 11% of all phone calls during business hours. And what does that mean? During the time they were seeing patients.
Can that be set up per practice in Practice by Numbers, or is it just a set time?
So it's time based on your schedule. So we figure out automatically when you have appointments.
Okay, that makes sense.
So if there's a half a day that you didn't have appointments, we'll consider that half day as not working. So
that makes sense.
Yeah, so we're assuming that if you're seeing patients, somebody's hopefully answering the phone calls.
They should be. Now, for front office rocks, I'm going to tell you, your phone should be answered at least Monday through Friday, 8 to 5, no questions. Whether you're in a staff meeting or you're closed on Fridays, your phone should be answered. But I get that this is during staff hours. There's no excuse for 11% of your calls to be missed, for sure.
No, there isn't. There's absolutely no excuse for that. But there's a couple of further things to analyze on what's happening during that business. So there are 3 different areas: during business hours, off business hours, and all of the calls. So 11% were missed during business hours. And then you have to kind of do an analysis to see, is that a problem or not? Now, with this office, 11% phone calls that were missed, they returned 53% of them. Okay, half of them. And they handled 76. So 3/4 of the calls were handled, so that they either called back or the patient called them back or whatever may have happened. Okay, so
Okay.
3/4 of the calls were handled, missed calls were handled. And it took them an average of 52 minutes to call them back. That's a long time.
For everybody watching this, when you see me shake my head like this, that means I'm not okay with those numbers. So this office needs to improve on that. Luckily, they have practice by numbers to help them.
But one thing that's encouraging in this office is even with the very high missed call rate, that they missed 0 patients.
That's great. New patients.
New patients during business hours.
That's great.
Okay? And that's important because we don't want any calls to go into voicemail, but we definitely do not want any new patient calls to go into voicemail.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
And now this, on the extension of that, missed calls during business hours are 49%, and they missed 14 new patients.
Okay.
And this is important to decide. Now, our 14 new patients are important enough for you that you want to get a counseling service.
Right.
Okay. Or maybe you need to get better at calling these patients back the next day.
Right.
Overall,
and actually, I'm thinking, just on a side note, for after business hours, I don't necessarily love answering services, but I do have some solutions for handling the phones on the weekends. But I'm thinking too, as an office manager and the doctor's wife, I could even log in over the weekend and potentially see what's going on in the phones and new patients over the weekend around the time that I have availability and not have to wait till Monday. Granted, I'm the doctor's wife. I don't get paid for that. And maybe you have employees. So there's some variations here of what you could do to make sure those calls get addressed.
Yeah. And also we will have an email alert going out soon. We're working on that so that when you miss a new patient call on a weekend, it'll send you an email that you just missed a new patient call. So maybe you can have incentivized, maybe pay an employee $20 for booking a new patient on a weekend.
Right.
You'd rather pay them employee $20 than have that new patient go away completely.
Exactly. What about over lunch? How is lunch tracked with this software? So if you're not seeing patients, is it still considered business hours, even though you don't have patients scheduled over lunch?
It would fall under the off business hours.
Off business hours.
Yeah, it would fall under off business hours.
But what about if you have staggered lunches like we do in my office? So we have lunches all different times.
Then it will be all. So if there's appointment anywhere on the schedule, it'll be in business. If there's no appointments on the schedule for that time, it'll be off business.
Okay. So for those offices that are closed over lunch, which I say if you're going to close over lunch, you still need somebody answering your phones. This is where you're going to analyze what's happening during that lunchtime, because that's when your new patients are potentially calling. And if you're not seeing patients and nobody's answering the phones, you're potentially losing patients during working hours.
And it's incredible how many offices forward their phones to auto attendant over lunch. That's just wrong.
Or on Fridays, which somebody should still be answering your phones. Okay, yeah. We beat a dead horse here with this. What else do we have here on the software?
Another important thing to understand is time on the phone. How much time are people spending on the phone? So incoming, so let's just quickly understand outgoing calls. How many minutes were spent on the phone on outgoing, patient, insurance, and others. Why is this important? It's important to understand what kind of capacity do you have up front? How many minutes are they spending on the phone? And since we're running out of time over here, and I see Laura checking her clocks, let's quickly jump into the analytics here to be able to understand what is the volume of calls coming in. So you want to understand when are you missing your calls. So this is showing you volume by hour. So if I just want to look at, let's say, missed calls, so I'm going to click on that. It's telling me when am I missing calls during a workday. And most of the calls I'm missing is about 8 a.m. and 9 a.m. Okay.
What is the call type? What is that 1, 2, and 3 on the right?
Those are the call. That's the line number.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Which line? Yeah, which line is the call missed on? So This is what's happening in this office. They're missing calls at 8 a.m. and 9 a.m. and also some during lunchtime, as you can imagine.
Yes.
And also doing an analysis on which day are they missing the calls. Now, these guys, I know, don't work on Mondays. Mm-hmm. Or they work on every other Monday. And they have an office day on Tuesdays. And what I'm surprised about is how much are they missing on Tuesdays, even if they have an office day on Tuesdays. So they're actually missing more calls on their office day than they're missing when they actually work. So that means there's just no accountability here, right? If the doctor's out and it's just an office day, they're missing the call.
Yep.
it's fascinating to, once you have the data, to what you can do with it. And the last part that I do want to show is to and fro from the insurance companies. So understanding how much time is being spent calling insurance companies. So we will track that based on all the numbers that are in your practice management system. So we'll know if you're calling Primera or Blue Cross or Delta, and how long are you on the phone with those companies. So it's sometimes good to understand how much time is being spent.
Yep.
Yeah.
And I like this number of rings. So don't miss that, because I teach this all the time. So is this how many times the phone rang before we answered it? Number of rings before answer.
Exactly. So this is important because you want to not let the phone ring more than 2 times.
Right. Yep. Because when it goes 3, 4, and 5 times, and not even just a voicemail, but even 5 times, the potential patients are thinking we're too busy for them. And we have to remember that the experience that starts with our new patients starts from the very first phone call.
Right.
So your team's spending an hour and a half on the phone with Blue Cross Blue Shield, and you can see it over here to and from insurances, but they're missing calls or they're letting it ring 4 or 5 times. We need to work on your team about training the priorities. The insurance companies are not the priority. The new patients and our patients are the priority. And so now we have real data for you to see what's going on with your phones. So we're running out of time on this video. I just want to thank you, Rohit, and Practice by Numbers for developing a software like this, because now we have the ability to work with our teams to go, all right, what's going on the phones? And this should not be, we've talked about this in another video, this should not be you guys aren't doing a good job. It should be, where are we right now and how can we improve? So I would suggest you sit down with your team. You bring up this information. They can't argue with data. This is all just information. And then you ask them, how do we improve on this? And then you start tracking it week to week, month to month, year to year, and you should definitely see improvement, because you can't fix things if you don't know where you are to start. So that's really where you need to start. So I want to thank you. With Front Office Rocks is here for you to help you. This is my forte. So if you want help in this area, I am definitely here to help you. And then Rohit, do you have anything to add before we finish this video?
No, all I can say is measure, improve, and monitor. So we can help you with measure, we can help you with monitor, and Laura can help you with improve.
I was waiting for that plug. So thank you guys again for joining us. Rohit with Practice by Numbers, Laura with Front Office Rocks. We're here to help you improve your office. So if you need anything after this video, reach out to either one of us or both of us. And thank you for taking the time to watch this.
All right. Bye, everyone.